Today's topic is all about self-publishing. Self-publishing either fiction or nonfiction. And if you've got 5 minutes, I've got 5 tips to help you get started. So you've written a book. You've written a novel or you've written a nonfiction book. Well, bravo, that is a singular personal accomplishment. Well done. Now you have finished the book, you have rewritten it, you have edited it, you have proofread it, and now you're ready to publish it. Well, the truth is that not everyone who writes a book and finishes the whole process is going to be able to find a publisher. Whether you write fiction or nonfiction, it doesn't really matter. You might not find the right publisher, the right publishing home for that book. And for that matter, you might not even want to look for a publisher for a book. You might not even be looking for a traditional publishing contract. What you might want to do is just publish it yourself. But if you go the route of self-publishing, there's a steep learning curve. And I speak from experience. I had many years of writing for traditional publishers, for selling to traditional publishers, but eventually I decided that I wanted to self-publish some of my work. And I had to learn all about it. And that steep learning curve does take a long time. But I've got 5 quick and dirty tips to get you started on that process. Tip number 1, determine how much money you are willing and able to spend on self-publishing your book. Now, if you want to know the fundamental difference between traditional publishing and self-publishing, you just have to follow the money. When it comes to traditional publishing, your publisher will foot all the bills. Traditional publishers do take on all the financial burden of publishing. As a self-publisher, you will have to finance your own project. And that financial investment that you'll make in your book can be very small or it can be quite large. You have to make the determination up front how much you're willing and able to spend. Tip number 2, decide how much work you're willing to do alone. If you decide to go completely alone, you can have it printed at a local printer and you can distribute it to your friends and family at Christmas. This means that you write the book and then you format the book and you create a cover and you design the interior of the book and you distribute the book because you're distributing it by giving it away. That's how you do it completely by yourself. You could also sell it on your own website. But if you're not willing or able to do it completely by yourself, you're going to need some help, particularly if you intend to distribute it beyond your friends and family and beyond your personal website. And once you figure this out, you might need to revisit the answer to my question in tip number 1 about how much you're willing to spend. Tip number 3, decide if you're going to publish it just as an ebook, or it's going to be just a print book, or it's going to be both. There are 3 fundamental things that are quite different when it comes to ebooks versus print books, and that is the interior design of the book, the cover of the book, and the distribution of the book. And many people nowadays want to do both. They want to have an electronic book and they want to have a print book. And if you are planning to do it both ways, you're probably going to have to find an online distributor for your book. Number 4 tip is research the hell out of all of the available online publishing platforms. My suggestion is that you don't just rush to publish on the first one that you stumble on. And the first one that you stumble on is very likely to be Amazon's KDP because it is the biggest and it's the one that's going to come up first when you go on a search engine looking for self-publishing platforms, which is what you should research. For example, if you choose to publish on Amazon and only on Amazon, Amazon is going to be the only place where your book will be available. That means that some of your friends and potential readers who have Kobos or Nooks or who like to buy their books at Barnes & Noble are not going to have access to your book. It will only be available on Amazon, which means that you might need to publish it in more than one place, on more than one platform, something you may not have thought about before. Now, this is going to mean more work, and it might also mean that you might have to spend a little bit of money. Now, I'm going to give you a list of some of the biggest self-publishers here, which are the ones that I think you should begin with. This means that you're going to have to know the rules for all of the following publishers. Here's a list. As I suggested, Amazon's KDP program, because it is the largest one. Start with that. Also, you might consider Ingram Spark, but you'll find Ingram Spark actually has a cost for setup. Draft to Digital, Lulu, Smashwords, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble Press. And those are just some of the major players. As you do your research, you're going to come upon smaller ones. Obviously, you're going to consider all of them, but make sure you find the one that's right for your decisions. Tip number 5, never take cover design advice from someone who designed their own cover, especially in an online Facebook group. This is a particular pet peeve of mine, and unless the person who designed his or her own cover has a background in graphic design, or even marketing might be helpful, just ditch their advice entirely. There are just way too many horrible covers out there, and your cover actually is going to be very important to you when it comes to marketing your book. But so many covers have been made by people who know nothing about design, know nothing about white space or fonts or mood or colors. Just don't do it yourself unless you know exactly what you're doing. Please, I beg you. My final bit of advice is to be realistic. Be realistic about what you can accomplish with the time, money, and the talents that you have that are outside of the writing, because publishing is a different kind of thing, and not every writer is cut out to be a publisher. For example, marketing that book, getting it in front of potential readers is quite a different thing. But if you decide to go the self-publishing route, I wish you the best of luck. Subscribe to Write, Fix, Repeat, and maybe I can help you improve your writing knowledge and skills. 5 tips at a time.